Hey guys, AubreyRS here. Today's video we are talking solo ambassador and my 3 keys that you're going to need to know to be able to take down solo ambassador, one of the hardest PVM experiences for solo players. One quick note before we get started: death is inevitable. Whenever you're learning this boss, you're going to die, and you're going to die a lot. Whenever I was learning, I must have died at least 50 plus times. God knows how much money I've spent going through onyxes, but trust me, death is inevitable. Take it as a learning experience and make yourself better. If you can, even record the footage of your gameplay, then have a look back afterwards and see where you went wrong. Was it maybe your DPS? Did you get a mechanic wrong? How could you have made something better? It's really important that you review what you're doing going forward, so that way each death you're learning and you're progressing, and each death means something, so you're getting closer to the kill every single time. So moving on to my 3 keys for solo ambassador. Key number 1, you can't get around this: DPS. You need DPS, DPS, DPS. Whenever you start the boss fight, you need to start berzerk. If you're using melee anyway in this case, or sunshine or death swiftness, you need to start with your ultimate. So make sure you start with your zerk rotation. You're going to need to know a good ultimate rotation, so a good zerk rotation. So that'd be using your assault, your destroy, maybe a flurry if you have the codex for it. If not, then maybe you would think about maybe a tendrils, maybe forceful backhand with flanking, anything like that. Barge codex for melee here is super useful, because that way you can actually stack your assault and turn that into a bleed, so you can get a lot of burst DPS out of that. But the big thing that you're looking for with your DPS, you need to try to get to around 750k health before the first set of spinners come out. It's not the easiest thing to do. I've only managed it a few times on a Ripper Demon with a few scrolls, but I'm not spamming the scrolls or anything. But try and keep your DPS tight. The more DPS you do in that first phase, the easier it will be after the first set of spinners to try and phase it into that second phase, where the fight gets substantially easier. Once you're through this first phase, you're pretty much golden. Now, tip number 2, deal with the fire properly. Please deal with the fire properly. The amount of times I have died to the fire is absolutely unbelievable, and you'll probably even see it in my video here. It might be that you've left a patch of fire too close to ambassador, so maybe you're trying to barge back in, you get pathed into the fire. Maybe you're trying to stun the portal, and then you're trying to move back to the ambassador, you get pathed through fire again. It's just one of the most annoying things. It's not even your fault really by dying to the fire, because you get pathed into it. But the best way to avoid that is just to make sure you deal with the fire properly. So that means escaping with a few seconds left, making sure that the fire is well away from the ambassador, preferably not in a patch where the spinner is going to be, because then you're never going to get to it. Also using bladed dive, waiting a second, barging back in, things like that. It's going to make the fire a non-issue, and your fight's going to go a lot smoother. And then the final tip that I have for ambassador, and actually this could be the biggest one, because your DPS on the spinners is really going to decide how your kill goes. If you're left with 2, 3, 4 spinners, you're going to have a bad time. So make sure you have a spinner rotation in mind whenever you're going into this fight. Try and have it kind of mapped out in your head of, right, spinner 1, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to use this threshold on this one. Do I zerk, do I not? That's up to yourself depending on your own DPS. But definitely go into the fight with some kind of idea of a spinner rotation. I'll have my kill video here towards the end, and you can have a look at my spinner rotation. It does differ between the 1 and the 2 cycle, but have a look at that to give you a rough general idea. But the biggest thing I can tell you for spinners, especially with melee, use bladed dive. A lot of people, especially in guides that I've seen on YouTube and people streaming, they don't seem to realize that every time you kill a spinner, you get a free bladed dive reset. Now whenever you bladed dive onto a spinner, that's a free 2-3k damage, which can really go a long way, because that means if you do a bladed dive into an assault, 9 times out of 10 you're probably going to kill that spinner. You wouldn't even need any of the basics or anything. So keep that in mind whenever you're moving towards the spinners and you're moving around the spinners. Bladed dive, bladed dive, bladed dive. Abuse it. Jagex have put that in for a reason. Every time you kill a spinner, you get a bladed dive reset. So try and use that as much as you can. But yeah, I'm just going to leave now my kill here at the end of the video. That was only my second ever solo kill at Ambassador. The first solo at Ambassador I ever did, I actually got the pet. So here you are, here is my second solo at Ambassador. Watch it, learn it, slow it down, pause it wherever you need to, try and pick up any tips that you can. And if you want to see a full Ambassador solo guide, like I said, just subscribe, maybe leave a like on the video, comment down below if there's interest in that solo guide, and I'll make a solo guide breaking down every little minutiae of that fight and the best ways of dealing with every single mechanic. I might even throw some rotations in there for the spinners if you're struggling on the spinners, or even if you want a full Elite Dungeon 3 guide for all the bosses. I'm trying to make as much PVM content as I can now as we're starting to ramp up towards God Wars 3. So yeah, just comment down below any of the videos you'd like to see in the future, and I'll leave you with the kill, guys. Cheers.